During the 1980s and 1990s, Ford's tagline used to be "Quality is job one," but that tagline doesn't fly today, because nowadays at Ford, quality is problem one. Not many people know this, but Ford literally takes the crown for the most number of recalls issued so far this year. We're talking about some 46 separate safety recalls impacting 6.8 million Ford vehicles, and this year isn't even over yet. Today I'm talking about the recent NHTSA investigation on the Ford Bronco and Ford's latest string of recalls, and what Ford is doing to turn things around to restore its reputation. Ford is getting lots of unwanted attention. The most recent trigger was when the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, officially opened an investigation on the 2021 Ford Bronco. If NHTSA ends up requiring Ford to issue a vehicle recall, then more than 25,500 Broncos could be affected. So let's dive right into the issue. NHTSA reported they had received 26 unique complaints from owners of 2021 Ford Bronco. In essence, many owners experienced a loss of power at highway speeds, and once they lost speed and the engine failed, it was reportedly impossible for drivers to start their engines back up again. No other model years of the Bronco besides the 2021 model are included in the current investigation. Now, I want to clarify that this issue doesn't seem to affect Ford Broncos with the smaller 2.3-liter EcoBoost i4 engines. The Broncos that had issues were those with the 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6 engines. Now, this turbocharged 2.7-liter V6 isn't exclusive to just the Ford Bronco. In fact, we see the same engine in Ford's F-150 pickup too. But so far, there's been no investigation opened into the Ford's F-150's engine version. So why were these Broncos losing power? Apparently, the catastrophic engine failures were due to the valves failing. Ford identified the root cause of these failures. It all came down to the valve keepers not holding the retainers in place. Valve keepers are supposed to lock the valve spring retainer to the valve. When the valve keepers fail, it causes the valve spring to detach from the valve. And interference thereby results between the valve and the piston, which ultimately leads to the engine locking up. At the moment, this is just an official NHTSA probe. Everything at this point is alleged. NHTSA decided to open the investigation to assess the scope, frequency, and potentially safety-related consequences of the alleged defect. Since this is only an investigation at the moment, right now, NHTSA isn't forcing Ford to issue a recall or acknowledge any issue with the V6. But here's the thing. Ford engine problems aren't something new or isolated. There's been reports of engine defects and issues since late May 2022, some of which were also serious. Some drivers barely avoided major injury when their vehicles experienced complete power loss. So far, though, no accidents or injuries have been linked to these engine failures. While Ford hasn't announced an official recall, some industry analysts expect that this recall may not be far away. The vast majority of these Broncos are most probably still under the factory's 60,000-mile warranty, and so a recall would be the most logical next step if NHTSA ends up finding these engines were faulty in the first place. If you're wondering what Ford's response to all this, well, NHTSA met with Ford representatives 1 month after they received the complaints. We're talking about just this past June, but Ford has yet to officially comment on the investigations itself. Although previously they did point out that the Bronco's 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty covers engine failures. Recalls are nothing new for any major car maker. If you're cranking out millions of cars, it's inevitable because no one company is perfect, and Ford is no exception. But let's put it into perspective. Of recalls issued this year alone, Hyundai's recalls impact less than 1 million of their cars. Chrysler's recalls impact about 1.3 million cars. GM's impact is 1.5 million of their cars. And Tesla's recalls impacts almost 2.3 million. But then, get this, Ford's recalls from this year impact 6.8 million cars. That's not just a jump, it's leaps and bounds. Not only are Ford recalls impacting more cars than any other brands, it's also by a multitude. And that's not including the most recent investigation of the Bronco engine failures. This is a #1 ranking no one wants to be at. Although, on a side note, if you're wondering what company has issued the most recalls in the last 22 years, well, that would be General Motors. In fact, in the last 22 years, there have been 12,000 recalls issued in the U.S., and almost all of these recalls involve cars from GM, Ford, and Chrysler. You can draw your own conclusion about these car brands. Anyway, as far as this year is concerned, just look at the first half alone. In February, Ford recalled 330,800 Ford Mustangs from 2015 to 2017. The problem was due to poor wiring in the car's backup cameras. Then this past March, Ford issued 2 separate recalls. The first was a safety recall due to engine oil leaking. This impacted 345,000 Ford vehicles. On that very same day, Ford issued yet another recall for faulty brakes resulting from software errors. This recall impacted some 391,000 Ford vehicles Then in May, Ford recalled 39,000 of the 2021 Ford Expedition and Lincoln Navigator SUVs due to fire risks. June saw another mass recall. This time, Ford recalled 3.3 million vehicles that could roll away because of damaged or missing part that prevents the car from shifting into the intended gear. On top of that very same month, Ford recalled 25,000 regular Mustangs due to faulty shift sensors. So you can see that Ford has been racking up on recall. Anyway, Ford recognizes this isn't good enough. Ford does have the ambition to be a quality leader, but obviously they have miles to go to earn that title and reputation. Ford CEO Jim Farley has repeatedly said that reducing company spending related to recall and warranty work is vital for Ford. That's because of their long history of what some experts call self-inflicted wounds. There are multiple theories on why Ford has so many quality issues. Some say Ford's moving too fast on cutting-edge technology, while trying to save money by cutting corners in areas like development and testing. Others say that Ford's experienced engineers are purposely using cheap parts from the lowest bidding suppliers. Another possible factor is Ford's launch strategy. Ford has too many new model launches bunched up together, and it makes much more changes in its model redesigns. Releasing a completely new model comes with a whole slew of challenges and problems as it is. But when you time multiple new launches all around the same period, that's even more complicated. Contrast that to other car makers, which spread out their releases and also use more carryover parts. Let's look at Ford's recent recall for its Mustang Mach-E electric car. The problem was on certain vehicles. The DC fast charging and repeated wide-open pedal events were causing high-voltage battery main contactors to overheat. That's very dangerous. Overheating can lead to arcing and deformation of electrical contact surfaces. If that were to happen, the contactor would either remain open or weld itself completely shut. And if this were to happen, it would result in loss of power, which significantly increases the risk of an accident. According to NHTSA, Ford is taking action to fix this issue. The problem is set to be fixed by a software update to arrive soon. At the moment, there isn't a stop sale order on the model. Car dealers are free to sell the Mach-E's, but before any of the Mach-E deliveries can take place, a software update must be performed first. The specific Mach-E's that are affected by the recall include those built between May 2020 and May 2022. That's a huge chunk of the 100,000 unit productions run so far. This means that in the U.S. alone, almost 49,000 vehicles are potentially affected. Now, Ford plans to give owners an easy option. They'll be releasing an over-the-air software update for the secondary onboard diagnostic control module and the battery energy control module. So, Mach-E owners will have the option of going to a dealer to have these updates installed rather than return their cars completely. But this isn't the only recall ever issued for the Ford Mach-E. Ford has already issued 5 recalls for the Mach-E in the past. Past recalls have been both hardware and software related, but none have affected as many vehicles as this most recent recall. Last year, Ford was ranked #1 in the U.S. for warranty repairs and recall costs. And I'm not talking about just in the auto industry. I'm talking to the #1 company in warranty payouts, period, meaning that it's across multiple industries. That's even in comparison to companies like Apple. Last year, Ford budgeted more than $4 billion for warranty costs. That's an increase of 76% from 5 years prior. And from 2016 to 2021, Ford's total warranty expenses increased by about 17%. But total budget isn't the only indication. Ford also set aside the highest amount per vehicle for warranty repairs and recalls. Here are the numbers. Ford allotted $1,041 per Ford vehicle to cover warranty claims. Just compared to its competitor General Motors, who allocated only $713 per car. Clearly, they already know and expect upcoming recalls and quality issues, and that's why they pre-allocated this budget. Not only are they losing money, but more importantly, it's costing them customers. I'm talking about losing consumer trust in the Ford brand. I mean, after all, you think about their recent track record. Do you think you'd have the same confidence in the reliability of a Ford car? I'm sure by now, you'd have a small seed of doubt, if you didn't already, about buying a Ford in the first place. Recalls and quality issues became such an issue that Ford appointed its own quality czar. His name is Josh Halliburton. He joined the company as the new executive director of quality, a new position created under Ford CEO Jim Farley. Halliburton's role is to shake things up at Ford, and his role is a critical one today. 46-year-old Josh Halliburton comes from auto researcher firm J.D. Power, where he advised companies on production quality. Now, Josh Halliburton's job is to help Ford in its larger ambition to shave annual costs by $3 billion in 2026. If they can spend a few billion less each year on warranty repairs and recalls, they can reallocate those funds to more critical areas like research, development, and testing. For example, invest more in development developing new models, new EV technology, battery plants, and manufacturing facilities. Halliburton's strategy is to improve how Ford identifies problems. The plan includes things like installing video cameras to catch flaws as cars are being built. Recently, Ford installed video cameras to monitor their early builds and target any steps they can eliminate or simplify. Halliburton also plans on pressing workers to speak up early about design and production challenges. He wants to place more time and emphasis on ensuring everything is done right up front to prevent quality issues from manifesting later in the development process. Halliburton wants to use social media to find complaints flagged by customers. Ford already has an always-on team. For example, they monitor different social media platforms during the launch of the Ford's Mustang Mach-E and engage with customers regarding their complaints. But now Halliburton wants to take it up a notch. Halliburton expects to see Ford's warranty problems improve next year. But when it comes to seeing more impactful results, they could take 2 to 3 years at the very least. So whether or not Halliburton is rescuing Ford right now won't be evident for a few more years. And this is all very interesting. All eyes are on Ford right now because it's a very critical junction. We're talking about the Ford Motor Company. It's a quintessential American company that has deep roots here since 1930. We're talking about the 4th largest car company in the world with $127 billion in revenue, making more than 4 million cars a year. But now you tell me, do you own a Ford vehicle that's under recall? Please share your experience by commenting below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for your support.